Resident Evil Veronica will be the best Resident Evil remake to date. I know that's a bold statement, and many of you are probably scratching your heads right now thinking how could anything beat the masterclass in survival horror Resident Evil 2 showcased, the perfect blend of eerie and eccentric action Resident Evil 4 remake merged, or Resident Evil 3's Actually, most games are better than Resident Evil 3. But anyways, hear me out. There are plenty of reasons why the franchise's upcoming remake will likely be the best the series has seen so far. To uncover what makes a good Resident Evil remake, we must first discover what qualities are necessary to make a great gaming remake in general. To break this down, there are three main factors that are pivotal to adapting a title: modernisation, expansion, and faithfulness. Think of these as a Venn diagram, where the more attributes present, the better the remake. Most remakes fail to hit the centre. Resident Evil 3 only achieved modernisation, lazily cutting more content than it added. Resident Evil 2 nailed modernisation and faithfulness, but lacked true expansion, heavily streamlining the original's dual scenario loop. Even the massive Resident Evil 4 remake, while incredible, focused on polishing an existing masterpiece rather than expanding it. Up until now, only the 2002 Resident Evil 1 remake hit that holy grail sweet spot, remaining perfectly faithful while modernising the hardware and expanding the lore. So, how does Resident Evil Veronica top the gold standard of RE1, a remake already sitting dead centre of the Venn diagram? Simple, it must first match it. These three elements are where the upcoming Code Veronica reimagining needs to excel and maintain the monumental standard set by its predecessors. So how and why can it reach the apex of all key components? Modernising the title will prove a simple task for Capcom, as despite the Dreamcast being a legendary console, it's still over 25 years old. Ditching the fixed camera angles and tank controls for a more accessible over-the-shoulder camera, or even a first-person mode which seems to be teased in the trailer, will offer accessibility to the modern gaming audience. Pair this with the lighting, graphical and gameplay superiority the RE engine offers, and Resident Evil Veronica will be the boundary-pushing modern-day equivalent of the original 2000 release. These changes would leave the Code Veronica remake on par with Resident Evil 2 for the most dramatic jump in overall gameplay, and joint top of the modernisation sector. Based on what Capcom showed at Summer Game Fest, Resident Evil Veronica is already dominating the expansion category. The trailer hints at a fully playable Parisian prologue, completely expanding upon the original Dreamcast's simple action intro cinematic, but the real triumph will be in the game's second half. The original Code Veronica forced players to lazily retread the exact same environments when switching over to Chris Redfield. By adding entirely new environments, original boss fights, and fresh narrative beats instead of recycling assets, Capcom can elevate Chris's segments from a frustrating chore into a masterclass of replayability. If the entry follows the same patterns of the other remakes, players can also expect mini-games, challenges, and many other unlockables absent from the original. While modernisation and expansion are a developer's alchemy table, mixing and matching new ideas with an ancient foundation, hitting the faithfulness category is going to be Capcom's absolute hardest tightrope walk. The original Code Veronica is easily the most melodramatic, campy, and at times completely unhinged entry in the entire mainline franchise.
Alfred! Cross-dressing freak!
Trying to translate the game's early 2000s anime style into the grounded, ultra-realistic horror tone of the modern RE engine is a monumental task. Capcom has to preserve the iconic, larger-than-life elements that fans demand, like Alfred Ashford's psychological breakdown or Albert Wesker's superhuman, Matrix-style return, without making the game feel like a tonal disaster alongside the Resident Evil 2 and 4 remakes. If they lean too far into the realism, they lose the soul of the original, but if they lean too far into the camp, they ruin the immersion. But if they can hit that sweet spot and nail the blatant campy humour with horrific undertones, Resident Evil Veronica will maintain its distinct personality whilst merging with the modern era. And that brings us to the narrative itself. With this upcoming remake clearly able to top each crucial remake stepping stone, what sets it apart from the RE1 remake, which already did the same 25 years earlier? Code Veronica has arguably the highest narrative stakes of the classic era. It's the true emotional continuation of Claire's search for Chris, and the definitive return of the series' ultimate antagonist. It merges plot threads, character arcs, and emotions built up over the course of 3 games, and with the modern era already adapting most of these narratives, Code Veronica will hit even harder in context. Capcom's modern writing team has already proven they know how to elevate paper-thin classic plots into gripping emotional journeys. So by taking Veronica's themes of isolation, psychological trauma, and the complex dark dynamic of the Ashford twins, they can ground this narrative. They have the opportunity to transform a plot that was once heavily weighed down by cringy dialogue into the most cinematic, emotionally impactful, and mature campaign the franchise has seen. But Resident Evil Veronica still has one final trick up its sleeve to push it to the top of the series' remakes, one I haven't mentioned yet. With Resident Evil 1 my current pick for the franchise's best remake, the original has certainly cemented its place as a separate and enjoyable experience, offering a different, more cheesy B-movie angle compared to the serious tones present in the remake. But the original Code Veronica is a deeply, fundamentally flawed game. This is a game notorious for its mechanical cruelty, harbouring a brutal airplane boss fight that can be rendered mathematically unbeatable if you didn't conserve your ammo, a sudden mid-game character swap that permanently soft-locks your entire 10-hour save file if you left your best weapons in the wrong item box, and some of the most grating companion dialogue in gaming history. For every ounce of fun we had with the remakes of Resident Evil 2 and 4, their original versions simply didn't have massive game-breaking structural issues, they polished perfection. But with Resident Evil Veronica, Capcom isn't just modernising a classic, they can rescue a broken masterpiece. By smoothing out the archaic design traps, expanding the world, and validating the trauma of everyone who got stuck on a Dreamcast 25 years ago, Capcom can firmly slot this title dead centre in our Venn diagram. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed it, it'd be greatly appreciated if you could like and subscribe, as it helps recommend my content to others on YouTube. But for now, goodbye.